Hello, friends. Welcome. Hello, and welcome to the Conservative Poet with me, Amania. All right. So it is Friday, and I have made it to the end. I have streamed every day this week. It has been, interesting, if I have to say. Just the prep work and, because I challenged myself this week and I was like, I'm going to try to do this to see if I can actually pull this off daily. Not just, those 20-minute videos here, 10-minute videos, but an actual, hour and a half sort of show. And so I have done it. Every day this week, I sat here for live and we did it. And we've had some great content, some great conversations. A lot of people came through. So it's actually been very, very good. And it's been a really good experience for me. And I think I will continue this. Hopefully, the Lord will just keep guiding me and pushing me towards it. And so we can continue these live streams. So, hello, friend. Welcome to the live. It's just you and I at this moment. So, I'm going to put the comments on and we can chat it up if we'd like. And so, welcome to you again. And what I'd like to talk about, if you saw the thumbnail, we have a couple of topics that we're looking at today. And so, one of the main ones is the visit that Vivek Ramasamy and the great Elon Musk took into the swamp this week. They went on Capitol Hill to talk to some of the lawmakers in reference to what they're planning to do when it comes to draining the swamp. So that was interestingly covered by multiple different arenas. So we're going to look at that. And we're also going to look at President, and I'm going to say that loosely, President Joe Biden, who went to Africa. Yeah, he went to Africa to speak with the Africans in reference to whatever. So we're going to cover that. And while he was out there, old Joe Biden, old Sleepy Joe, fell asleep at the table while the Africans were talking to him. Can you imagine, friends, Joe Biden in a different scenario if this was President Trump sitting there with African leaders, Black folks that look like me. And here is a white man sitting there, Donald J. Trump, and he's fallen asleep as the Africans are talking about their country and all of these things that they're looking to do with their country. And there's Donald Trump sleeping, Can you hear all of the mainstream liberal media and everything that they would have to say? Can you hear Joy Reid talking about that? Can you hear MSNBC crowing about that? Can you hear them? Because I sure can. But no, it's Joe Biden that's sitting there among the Africans. It's Joe Biden that's fallen asleep as the Africans are talking. It's Joe Biden. But what is the mainstream liberal media talking about? I will show you in a little bit. But before we get into all of that, I would love to play a parody because I love to start things off nice and light. And we're going to play a parody to get things going. So without further ado, here we go.
This spring to MXNBC, a groundbreaking series that will change the U.S. government and the world forever. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramasamy, under the direction of former star of The Apprentice, Donald Trump, will challenge 3 million contestants to carry their load or hit the road. That's right. We'll be asking every government employee to prove their value.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine.
Just like in a good old-fashioned meritocracy.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming in. What would you say it is that you do around here?
I mean, a lot of days I really do stuff. It's just there's not that much going on today.
I helped Tanner and Blaze replace those heavy 5-gallon water containers.
Tune in each week as Elon and Vivek measure every federal employee's value and efficiency.
And time. So your study on how cocaine enhances the sex drive of Japanese quail, what's that worth to the American taxpayer?
I think it's priceless.
And get ready for the savings, as those that don't make the cut get shown the door.
The president wants to tell you something.
Firstly, thank you for coming in today. And second, you're fired.
The Emmy Award-watching viewers of Deadwood and Idiocracy present DOGE Days, the purge of the U.S. government.
The purge of the U.S. government. So yeah, I love that one. I absolutely love it. It's just, what they're going to do. What is it that you say that you do here? What is it that you do here? Why are you being paid so much money? Why are you here? So anyway, DOGE coming to clean up Washington, D.C. So as we said earlier, the DOGE boys, as I call them, they were out there on Capitol Hill this week. And they were meeting with legislatures to discuss, how this thing is going to move forward and how they're going to do this, because they have been, President Trump has put it out there that they will be looking to cut $2 trillion between now and 2026, July 4th, 2026. So if anybody can do it, this team can. And they are going to be preparing themselves to do just that. Because, friends, we are literally $36 trillion in debt. And it's crazy. This is how much debt we're in. And I don't want to jump the gun, but I want to discuss this later on. But I want to throw it out here right now, is that Vivek, Ramasamy, and Elon Musk went to D.C. this week to figure out how they're going to do this thing to cut some of this debt that we have. But yet Joe Biden is in Africa pledging to give them more money. He's talking about how we're the richest nation in the world, and he's prepared to give them more money. How is it that we, the richest nation in the world, is $36 trillion in debt? Like, make it make sense to me. You're out here pledging to give more money away, putting us more in debt. How is that? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. I really have no words when it comes to this. Like, we are literally sinking, but yet you're putting more weight on. That's what we're sinking, and you're putting on more weight. You're putting in more countries for us to give stuff to. That's literally what he's doing. Again, the president of the United States, we say that loosely. So we're going to take a clipping in reference to Elon Musk and Vivek out there in the swamp. And we're going to just get a little bit of context on what that visit was like over there in Capitol Hill yesterday. All right, let's go.
Ramasamy visits Capitol Hill to discuss ideas to slash wasteful government spending. Fox's Rebecca Castor explains.
A media frenzy on Capitol Hill Thursday for Trump allies Vivek Ramasamy and Elon Musk. They're heading up the president-elect's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, and they're meeting with lawmakers to discuss plans for cutting back government spending.
How do you convince people who don't want to cut spending to cut spending?
Cutting waste appears kind of like going to heaven. Everybody wants to do it, but nobody's quite ready to make the trip. Okay? Will this time be different? I hope so.
Iowa Senator Joni Ernst is the chair of the Senate DOGE caucus. She's already shared her plan with Musk and Ramasamy, which she says will save the federal government $2 trillion. Part of that includes ending remote work or offloading empty buildings.
If we're not using the space, we need to get rid of it. And federal employees, you need to earn the right to telework.
DOGE has bipartisan support on the Hill, but at least one House Democrat says the concept is unconstitutional.
The Constitution does not permit the president to simply avoid what the Congress has done. That power of the purse is with the legislative branch, not the president.
There are already some roadblocks for the DOGE team seeking to trim the federal workforce. Thousands of Social Security workers recently signed a new union contract ensuring telework through 2029, a deal that would be extremely difficult for Trump to overturn. In Washington, Rebecca Castor.
So that older one, she's like a dinosaur, the one that seems like she's been in DC forever. You can literally see the swamp residue on her. Let's pull her up. You guys know which one I'm talking about. The one that spoke last, who says that this is an unconstitutional. Why is it unconstitutional to try to make the country better? Why is it unconstitutional to cut the fat on government waste? Why is it unconstitutional to make this country better, to save our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, the debt that we are putting them in right now? We are literally causing our great-grandchildren to carry the spending that we are doing now. And you saw her. You saw her. These are the kind of swamp creatures that's going to stand in the way of Vivek Ramasamy and Elon Musk and President Trump getting this work done. They are the one. Oh, it's unconstitutional to do that. Well, what makes it unconstitutional, lady? We have got to do something about this debt. $36 trillion. We've got to do something about it. And if we have to remove people like you to get it done, that's exactly what they need to do. We're going to move on to another clipping. This one is from Fox, and they're talking about the trip up to DC also. And we're going to also look at Mike Johnson, the speaker, who has a couple of things to say in reference to Joe Biden asking for more money to send to different countries. Again, money we don't have because we are $36 trillion in debt.
Are holding high-level talks with Ukraine about a peace deal with Russia. This comes as House Speaker Mike Johnson has denied Biden's request for more aid to Ukraine. Watch this.
I'm not planning to do that. There are developments by the hour in Ukraine. I think, as we predicted, and as I said to all of you weeks before the election, if Donald Trump is elected, it will change the dynamic of the Russia war on Ukraine. And we're seeing that happen. So it is not the place of Joe Biden to make that decision now. We have a newly elected president, and we're going to wait and take the new commander-in-chief's direction on all of that. So I don't expect any Ukraine funding to come up now.
Elbridge Colby is a former assistant defense secretary under Trump, and he joined.
Before our speaker comes on, I just would like to say I love the way Mike Johnson just put that. He says Joe Biden is on the way out, and we're not going to listen to anything that he is saying. We're certainly not going to send any more money to Ukraine because that is not something we're looking. The American people has voted that we do not want this. We do not want to send more monies to fund these wars. We want this to be an end. That's why we put President Trump in. And if Joe Biden is trying to sneak to give more money to these foreign countries, then as the speaker, I'm glad to hear that he's not planning to go along with this because they really do hold the power of the purse. So I'm glad to hear Mike Johnson say this because it's showing us that maybe he is becoming the kind of speaker that we need. You know, hopefully he can do the job under Trump. Let's go.
Me now, Elbridge, what would a peace deal, Russia, Ukraine, what would it actually look like?
Well, Stuart, great to be with you. I mean, I certainly don't want to get ahead of the president-elect, who's a consummate deal maker, in exactly what that might look like. But I think you see a lot of pieces moving. People see that Donald Trump is for real. He wants to make peace, but he's also not somebody to be toyed with. We know that from his first term. And I think you've seen that the Ukrainians are coming. They met with his transition team. It was reported Vice President-elect Vance, General Kellogg and others, Congressman Waltz. And there have been signals also from the Russians of an openness to negotiation. So exactly what that looks like, I don't think we know. But I think a key part is going to be the Europeans stepping up, which President Trump has also been on, frankly, for about 40 or 50 years. And you actually see some movement there. The Financial Times reporting today that the EU is considering defense bonds. I mean, marvelous to see that actually the Europeans will actually stand up if a president holds them to account.
I think it's the Trump effect, actually. It's rippling across the world.
Exactly.
Here's another one for you. Trump's Middle East envoy is in Qatar and Israel. They're pushing for a Gaza ceasefire before Trump's inauguration. Could there be a ceasefire and hostage release before Trump takes office, January the 20th?
I certainly hope so. Again, we know that President Trump commands respect in terms of his willingness to make threats and follow through on them. For instance, his comments on Truth Social about the hostages, his willingness to back that up. But it's also a very focused and calibrated demand, very reasonable, that Americans care for, and was on the campaign trail. The American people voted for that. But we also see the ceasefire in Lebanon, which, again, happened after President Trump was elected. And, of course, Biden and his team want to take credit, but they've been vainly trying to do something about that for over a year, and nothing's come of it. Even the Iranian steward are getting the memo. There's been reporting that they're interested in sort of trying to accommodate the new Trump administration. So I think we see, again, this winning combination that President Trump brings of strength, but also an interest in peace and a willingness to negotiate in a flexible and pragmatic way. We can't get that soon enough. Jake Sullivan was admitting yesterday that our stockpiles are bare, that if, God forbid, there were a war with China, we'd run out in a hot minute. So they're leaving such a bad situation. I think that's really important for people to understand as they prepare for a much better situation under President Trump. But it's a really bad situation right now.
Well, then we've got France's government has collapsed. The prime minister was ousted in a no confidence vote. This is political turmoil in France right before Trump gets there this weekend. What's the significance of that? Trump goes to Paris. He's looking like the president of the United States, and he's going to meet with Macron in political crisis. What's in it for us here?
Well, a couple things. I mean, I think the reopening of Notre Dame is kind of a civilizational event. I think all of us feel hopefully an affection and a support for that. And I think it's interesting that President Macron was very critical of President Trump. You see how people actually behave, like Justin Trudeau as well. He invites him to come to the reopening, and I think President Trump is magnanimous and gracious to go. I think the other thing I would say here is, remember Angela Merkel, the former chancellor of Germany, a couple years ago, going to Harvard and prattling on about being audaciously about being the leader of the free world. I think a lot of these people who have gone with these meetings in the G7 with Joe Biden, Trudeau, Macron, Schultz, et cetera, they're getting their comeuppance. You know, the government in France is falling, or is at least failing. The government in Germany has fallen. The government in Canada is on the verge of defeat. The government in Japan has fallen, the Kishida government. And I think there's a real wind at the back of Donald Trump. And there are a lot of people out there, both previously opposed, who are changing their spots, but also people like Prime Minister Modi, Prime Minister Netanyahu, President Duda of Poland, who want to work with President Trump.
It's all changed. I've got to get this one in. You are being considered as a replacement nominee for Secretary of Defense, along with Governor DeSantis from Florida. Would you go back to the Trump administration?
Well, I don't know about those reports. I don't know where they're coming from. What I will say is I make no presumptions, but I'd be very honored to serve in the Trump administration in whatever role I could have a positive impact in implementing President Trump's agenda. I think it's about President Trump's agenda. He's run on America first, on peace through strength. That's the agenda I believe in. It's the agenda the American people have given him an incredibly strong mandate for. So I'd be honored to serve wherever I could be and make a positive contribution.
Elbridge.
Wow. What about that? So much going on around the world, and man, President Trump is showing up like the superhero that he is looking to be. I mean, these countries are having a lot of issues. We've already talked about Canada and Justin Trudeau and what's happening there. And you know, friends, I'm sure you've seen this over the airwaves thus far, but President Trump told him, Trudeau, that is, he says to Trudeau, if you can't, get along without ripping America off, perhaps you should consider, joining the United States. And then therefore, instead of being the prime minister, you can just be a governor. And that's what he told him. And I was shocked. I said, man, President Trump, he is a beast. And again, America first. We see they just talked about everything that's happening across the world, what's happening in France, and President Trump is going out there. So a lot is happening. President Trump is being welcomed as the new president. Nobody cares about what's happening to old Joe, just the people in Africa and what's happening there, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But and so this gentleman, I didn't even realize that he is up, because we have heard that they may be considering my great Governor DeSantis. Now, I didn't know the short list was this gentleman and DeSantis to replace, what's his name, Hasek, if that doesn't go through. And I was on the radio last night and we had the conversation, and a friend of mine kind of convinced me that because of the way DeSantis runs Florida and has, been such a tough governor, that he would make a great, person in this role. So who knows? And this gentleman sounds competent too. He sounds like he knows what's going on, and he has served under the Trump administration before. So we'll see how that goes with this nomination. This thing is getting ugly for this guy. They are even his tattoo. He's got a tattoo on his chest, and they are even criticizing his tattoo. Everything he's done, they're being criticized. So we'll see how that goes. So next, I'd like to go to Capitol Hill, and we're going to take a word from Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a part of this DOGE committee. She's a part of that, and she gave a quick interview in reference to Elon Musk and Vivek's visit to Capitol Hill and the things that they discussed there. So Marjorie Taylor Greene to give us an update.
Mr. Speaker, very productive meeting. Listen, I'm just saying, this is a very productive meeting with Republicans from the Senate and the House. Mr. Speaker, can you come here, please? No, I can't. I'm late for a portrait unveiling. I cannot miss that. But they're finishing up the last few comments. There'll be a lot more that's expressed in the days ahead. I doubt that Elon and Vivek are going to give many comments today because we're in the early process of this, but stay tuned for more to come.
Can I get Social Security, yes or no?
I do not have a portrait.
Social Security?
Yes, you bet.
How was the meeting in there and your role taking on as a subcommittee?
I thought the meeting went fantastic. It was exactly what we were looking for, a question and answer session with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramasamy. They were gracious with their time. Many of the members, pretty much almost all of them, lined up at 3 mics and went through the process of expressing their concerns, their frustrations, also talking about bills that they have sponsored and their ideas of how we can truly tackle this massive deficit, cut spending, and lower inflation.
What was the number one concern expressed in there overall?
The biggest concern is our debt. And as a country, it doesn't matter where you fall on the political divide. This debt is going to crush every single one of us. And to quote Elon, he said something extremely important. Every single payment that the federal government pays out, we need to be checking those payments to see if they're legitimate. And that's something that hasn't been done. I don't know if it's ever been done. There's a massive amount of waste, fraud, and abuse that we have to tackle, and I will be doing that with my subcommittee, and I am looking forward to exposing every single unelected bureaucrat, every single agency that is wasting the American people's money, and the big government departments that need to be exposed for how they're not serving the American people.
Was there a call to cut $2 trillion in spending by 2026?
We didn't mention an exact number. All we talked about was cutting spending. Elon and Vivek talked about having a naughty list and a nice list for members of Congress and senators and how we vote and how we're spending the American people's money. I think that would be fantastic. But one thing is for sure, if we can cut spending, we'll be lowering inflation, and that'll be good for everyone.
When do you start work on your subcommittee? When does that kind of start?
Well, as we all know, the next Congress will convene on January 3rd. It'll take a few weeks to do the order of business, setting up committees and subcommittees, and then we'll be getting ready to roll towards the end of January.
Did Musk say that he would expose and shame Republicans for not cutting spending? I know that Chip Roy said that he had proposed that and Musk had agreed with him. Did he agree with him?
Elon said that he said a good list and a naughty list. They also have great ideas that they'll be working on with DOGE. Now, this will be separate from Congress. They're talking about communicating with the American people, perhaps maybe even a weekly podcast or a report, so to speak. They want to bring in members of Congress and senators and let the American people hear from them about their ideas and the programs that they're trying to work on, bills they're trying to pass. But the biggest, most important thing that Elon wants to bring forward for the American people is information. His big concern that he talked about today is how many Americans don't even know that we have a deficit or a debt of $36 trillion. And he feels like if we can educate the American people, getting the American people on board, it puts the right pressure where it belongs on the House and the Senate to do this job correctly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I'm actually glad that this is happening that way. And they're right. A lot of people don't even know that the amount of debt that we're in because they don't consume politics like we do. So they have no idea. 36 trillion is where we're at, and people just don't know that. And they don't realize that that amount of debt is going to hurt their future. It's going to hurt their children. It's going to hurt their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren. This thing right here, we have to take control of this boat, this ship that's literally falling over a cliff is what this is. And we have to, rearrange this thing right now. And that's what Vivek Ramasamy and Elon Musk is going to be doing, is they're going to try to turn the ship around before we fall into a sinkhole, friends. And with that, I'm going to take a quick break, and we're going to just play you a quick commercial, and we will be right back. Christmas great again. But first, we want to say thank you to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, because without him, there would be no season. So he is the reason for the season. And we want to say thank you for a great gift that he has poured upon us. And that gift, my friends, is our president, Donald J. Trump, who is going to make Christmas great again. We have Christmas wrapping paper, we have candles, puzzles for the children, t-shirts, mugs, blankets and fleeces, so many different things, ornaments. Yes, we are making Christmas great again. We say thank you to Donald J. Trump. Go to theorlandopatriot.com, get 30% off your purchase price. See you there. Merry Christmas. God bless you. Merry Christmas. All right. Merry Christmas. Okay, friends. So continuing with this, we're going to go across the pond and we're going to follow Joe Biden into Africa. Before we go in, I'm going to show you a clip of I think it comes from ABC, where they talk about this trip. You would not even believe that it's the same exact trip that the world is talking about, but they present it in a way that you would think Joe Biden was some sort of superhero out there doing the work. So we're going to play that first before we play him sleeping on the job, literally sleeping on the job. Joe Biden, ladies and gentlemen. But here's how ABC portrays him. And this is one of the reasons why you can't trust the fake news, because they give you some, they don't give you all. And they put it in a nice little package to make you think that this is what's happening when the whole city around you is falling apart and the reporter is saying, everything's good here. The city is burning around you like the summer of love. The city is burning. And the reporter's like, yeah, everything is good here.
Trump continues to make the headlines. The man who is still our president is making news overseas in Angola. President Biden's trip marks the first visit from a sitting U.S. president and the first visit to sub-Saharan Africa since 2015. He gave remarks at the National Museum of Slavery to honor the past and future of the Angolan-U.S. relationship. Take a listen.
We hear them in the wind and the waves. Young women, young men, born free in the highlands of Angola, only to be captured, bound, and forced on a death march along this very coast to this spot by slave traders in the year 1619. In the building next to us, they were baptized into a foreign faith against their will. Their names changed against their will. They became two of the first enslaved Americans in a place that 150 years later would become the United States of America.
Our Alex Pache is actually with the president there in Angola and joins me now with more. Hey, Alex.
Hey, Kira. So President Biden just wrapped up a historic speech on a historic visit here at the National Slave Museum in Angola. It's the first time that a sitting president has visited the country of Angola. It's also the first time that a sitting president has come to the continent of Africa since 2015. Obama did it back then. But there is a shared history specifically here in that the first two African Americans believed to be brought over as slaves came from this region. The president today honoring those slaves' descendants at this ceremony. He says that they were forcibly baptized here. They had their names changed before they began that fateful journey across the Atlantic in what would be centuries of slavery in the States. But the president also took a moment to highlight the arc of the relationship between the U.S. and Angola, saying that they had that shared history of slavery. Then also you have them on the opposite ends of the Cold War, and now you have them working together as partners, strategic partners in the continent of Africa, as you have this large investment, some $55 billion pledged back in 2022, about 80% of that fulfilled according to the White House. Tomorrow, the president will tour Lobito, which is home of the Lobito Corridor, a railway that will connect West and East Africa, something that the U.S. hopes will provide an alternative to Chinese investment in the region. The president taking a moment here to thank the Angolans on their continued partnership, and also saying that it's something that needs to be fostered and grown. Kira?
Alex Pache in Angola for us. Alex, thanks. All right, well, as president.
Oh, wow. Boy, friends, that was something, wasn't it? What a beautiful package. The way that man, I was literally stringing along as he gave the story of the story of the first slaves that were possibly come from this very region. And so it's such a historic moment in our history as Joe Biden, the first white president to come from the U.S. to talk about these things. And he's literally standing on special and holy ground. President Joe Biden. Anyway, let's find Sleepy Joe and what actually happened. Not that all that didn't happen, but it's how they focused on just that, when literally Sleepy Joe was this. We're going to take that from across the pond. Our friends from Sky News Australia is going to give us the talks on Joe Biden and his sleepiness in Africa.
Has had another senior moment during a summit in Africa where he appeared to fall asleep whilst leaders were praising him.
Of people, goods and services, but will also promote shared prosperity and inclusive growth across the region. Internal consultations aiming at aligning this project with national priorities and other bilateral and regional commitments. In closing, allow me to reiterate Tanzania's commitment to regional integration and shared prosperity. We note the progress made on the development of the Lobito Corridor and commend the visionary leadership that has brought this initiative to life. And it is through such partnerships and innovations that Africa's Agenda 2063 will be realized. I thank you.
The president appeared to take a nap for an extended period of time, which attracted scathing criticism from commentators online. This commentator said, "Who's running the country?" And this commentator agreed, saying, "Oh my God, Biden falls asleep during economic summit in Africa. This is so embarrassing. 1/20/2025 cannot come soon enough." The embarrassing gaffe comes after a controversial visit to Africa where Joe Biden was slammed for pledging $1 billion to help displaced Africans following natural disasters.
You know, that's the right thing for the wealthiest nation in the world to do. And today, I'm announcing over $1 billion in new humanitarian support for Africans displaced from homes by historic droughts and food insecurity. We know African leaders and citizens are seeking more than just aid. You seek investment. So the United States is expanding our relationship all across Africa, from assistance to aid, to investment to trade, moving from patrons to partners, to help bridge the infrastructure gap. I was told, by the way, when I got elected, I could never get an infrastructure bill passed.
Commentator blasted Biden for the move, with this person saying, while Americans in North Carolina are still dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, Joe Biden is giving $1 billion to Africa and Anthony Blinken is giving another $725 million to Ukraine. Trump cannot take over soon enough. And the nap wasn't Biden's only senior moment during his African trip. The president of Angola was forced to intervene and direct Joe Biden on his first day, even needing to manhandle him to stop him from tripping up a step. This commentator said, brainless Biden dodgering around in Africa, being led around by the president of Angola, who is trying to make sure Joe doesn't faceplant. Global embarrassment. Sky News commentator Justin Smith had a more empathetic take on the situation, saying Biden's trip shows he is a seriously ill man.
Now look, I know it's funny, but I can't join in the laughs. I'm sorry to be a wet blanket, but the guy's not well. He's a seriously ill man. He shouldn't be doing that job. He just shouldn't be doing it. I find that incredibly sad to watch.
He's a seriously corrupt man, and therefore I'm happy to laugh no matter what it is.
I just think it's a pity a few more people weren't saying that 3 years ago, 2 years ago. They were all defending him. But just here's some more.
Maybe, absolutely.
Here's some more of the big man in Africa. Oh, the handshake. I'm buggering. He did everything right. I just forgot the handshake. Yeah, it is a.
Wow. I mean, when you look at that, it's unbelievable that that's who represents us. That's who goes to meet with people like Putin and Xi Jinping and all these tough guys. We've got Sleepy Joe literally sleeping on the job. And I have another clip of this with Joe Biden. I'd like for us to look at that. And I made the point earlier on in this video was that, you know, here Joe Biden is. Again, I made the contrast of if this was Donald Trump.
His Excellency Joe Biden.
If this was Donald Trump, I want to just put the whole room on the screen there like this. If this was Donald Trump sitting there with these African leaders, right? Here he is. Just him with these African leaders. And here he is falling asleep, sitting here with these people. Don't you think the mainstream liberal media would be saying, how insulting is Donald Trump to Africans, because Donald Trump is disrespecting these Black leaders by falling asleep, right? Not even that African, not even the African news reporter from ABC mentioned the disrespect that he felt as an African with Joe Biden falling asleep with his countrymen leaders. But I tell you, if it was Trump, it would be a big deal. Everybody would be up in arms, tearing him to pieces in reference to his insult of being too old and to this and to that, and how insulting he is, and so on and so forth to the Africans. That's what they would be saying. But here, Joe Biden insulting these Africans, these Negroes, as they would put. Here's the white supremacist, right? I mean, he's a white supremacist sitting among the Africans, right? Nobody has a problem with that. But if it was Trump, they'd be trumping up charges. They'd be trumping up charges. Anyway, so friends, we're going to leave it there. That's going to be it for me today. Thank you so much for taking the time and getting caught up on some of the latest things that's happening currently here at home and abroad, and even in Washington, D.C. So lots is happening. The world is literally, there's so much going on. It's on fire, but we're praying that once President Trump comes in, some of these fires, as we're seeing, in Israel, things is getting a little bit better. As we're seeing around the world, things is getting a little bit better. So Donald Trump getting elected and getting ready to go in is good for us, and it's good for the whole world, because they are paying attention and they know Donald Trump is America first, and whatever it's going to take for America to be better is what he's looking for. So if that means 100% tariffs, then that's what it means. If it means 50% tariffs, then that's what it means. If it means cutting them off, period, then that's what it means, because America has good soil. We have strong people. We have all these illegals already here. I'm just saying, we got bodies to work. We got people to put to work. We can make our own stuff here. We can survive. They need us more than we need them. That's how I'm going to say it. They need us more than we need them. And so we can make our own stuff here. Why not? America did it once and we can do it again. And so this is who we are as Americans. So President Trump is going to let them know, no, it's over. You bending us over? No, it's over. No more. We're not Sleepy Joe. We're not Sleepy Joe, literally Sleepy Joe. We're not him, and we're going to do better. So friends, that's going to be it. Thank you very much for coming through. Really appreciate it. God bless you all and keep you. Have a great weekend. I may drop a video or two over the weekend, but I won't be doing any live streams until Monday. I'll be back Monday. So thank you all very much. God bless you and keep you. And I'll be back at 11 a.m. Right here for our morning streams. Okay? God bless you and keep you. And I will leave you with my subscription video in reference to where you can catch me. You can see videos and pictures of me on the ground doing the work, videos and pictures of different people that I see, celebrities, Congress people, all of that. So that's what you're going to see here. And that's what you get when you join the subscription, is that you get to see pictures of me behind the scenes doing the work. All right. And also, I will be going to inauguration in January. So you will definitely see behind the scenes pictures of that. All right. God bless and keep.